Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase, guys. I'm going to try to make this quick. Last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin was operating, obviously, been operating in this nice little uptrend here. Last time we spoke, we were operating, if I zoom in here, inside this, what looked like a little bear flag. I told you guys to very likely this thing was going to end up breaking up. I told you the max upside, in my opinion, where we were going to have to make a decision was going to be up here at 4120. So it looked like a breakup to me, hitting this 4120 possible resistance down here, and then from there it was going to be a decision point. Of course, Bitcoin did break up, didn't quite reach as high as I thought it might. Only got up to about $4,060 on Coinbase, and then we had a very strong rejection right there. And I told you guys, it would, depending on how this, if and when this thing did end up breaking up, it was going to be very telling how not just volume, but how longs and shorts reacted to that breakup in price. Remember, if I told you, if price did end up breaking up here and shorts were getting liquidated and longs were stacking, that would be your sign, a very good sign that price was going to very likely end up breaking down, at least in the short term. I told you, on the other hand, if price did end up breaking up here, and as it was breaking up, if more shorts started to enter the market, and or excuse me, if shorts started to get liquidated and longs, scratch that, guys, sorry about that. If it broke up and shorts started stacking and longs started falling off the board, in other words, the market was expecting price to end up breaking down, at that point, very likely price was going to end up crashing above resistance here at 4120. So what happened? Price broke up. We expected that. We called that. Not quite as high as expected, but it did break up. So the first thing that we should have done is come over here, and as soon as price was breaking up, come over here, check our longs and shorts, zoom in here to the 4-hour. What was happening as soon as it broke up? Shorts just started falling off the board fairly rapidly. In fact, if we go from that pivot high to that pivot low, we see we lost almost 12%, and right about 12% in shorts in a relatively short amount of time. So shorts were falling off the board. That should have been your first clue. Second, we come over here and we look at longs. Longs have just been stacking here. That's it, and they actually still are stacking. So longs have still been stacking here. So as price went up, longs were stacking, shorts were falling off the board. What does that mean? That means retail expected this thing to go up higher. So obviously what happened, market makers ended up, price ended up getting a strong rejection and ended up crashing down much sooner than even I expected here. So yeah, it was a predictable crash here, but it was not, I expected it to go a little higher before falling off the board here, and I didn't even get a short in here, guys, because it just didn't go as high as I thought before it ended up crashing down here. Now, I told you on the my last video, guys, that I wanted to see another test of 3,900. I told you that since we had broken up here, we came back down for the retest, had a nice little bounce, and then just started consolidating within a little bit of a wedge here. Never really coming back down and retesting 3,900. 3,900 was a very strong support here, acted as a very strong resistance from February the 28th all the way until it finally broke above on March 15th, so about 2 weeks, a little over. And I wanted to see if it was going to come back down and what was resistance going to start acting as support again. And we didn't quite come all the way down to 3,900 again. I'm referencing Coinbase. Wherever this happens to be on your exchange, the price points will vary a little bit higher on Bitfinex, etc. But on Coinbase, I wanted to see a retesting of 3,900. We haven't quite had that yet. It came down to about 39.10-ish, 39.15. Had a little bit of a bounce off that zone, guys, but not enough to really test it. So I'm going to be watching this very closely. It looks to me like we may have another test of 3,900. If 3,900 can hold, I do think that's going to be a rather bullish sign. We'll have to wait and see if it does. But if 3,900 breaks down, at that point, guys, it's going to start to get very interesting. I'm going to start to get a much less bullish. However, we do have this nice little ascending support line that's coming off of this this wedge pattern here, and we can just extend out. That's support. That support still hasn't been broken, even though we broke out of the wedge. It's still a valid support. So that would coincide nicely with just above 3,800, somewhere thereabouts, guys. If we can hold that, that would be good. If that breaks down, and especially if we break below 3,800, guys, I think all bets are off, and we're very likely going to be coming back down to at least 3,600, if not 3,550-ish, somewhere thereabouts. Now, zooming out on the daily, we can see where we may be forming a secondary pattern here, or secondary wedge, I should say. So we have this kind of, obviously we have a lower high here. If I extend this pattern out here, we can see that we've continued to create a series of higher lows. So it's possible this is all turning into a larger possible wedge here. You can certainly see where that would consolidate, where we come back down, hit off bottom of the ascending support, possibly come back up, hitting tight. So you can see how it's kind of could bounce around here until we reach the apex here and then get a stronger breakout. That certainly is possible and something I'm going to be watching, even though we're not really there yet, guys. I like to see at least 3 tests of a resistance or support. We've tested certainly the ascending support line 3 times, numerous times back here, another time here, twice here, third time here, or really a 4th time, depending on how many times you want to count this. So the support line is there. It's just that descending resistance line that I'm not too sure of yet. And so if we do come back down, come back up, I'll be watching for a rejection off that zone again if we have another retest of that zone. And if we get if we come back up and hit that zone again, then I'll start watching this as more of an overall a wedge here, a larger wedge pattern that we're watching. And of course, that would I'd look for a much larger breakout. But again, I'm not there yet. I know somebody pointed that out to me and asked the question. It's a good question. I can certainly see where there's the possibility of a making of that in the makings, but I don't think we're quite there yet. All right, continuing on the daily, guys, we can see, of course, we had rejection. We were just hovering right at the top of our Bollinger Bands here on the daily chart, guys. Finally had a rejection off that, coming back down, almost ready to test this 21-day EMA. That should act as a rather strong support, guys. If that can hold, I'll remain cautiously optimistic. If we do end up breaking down below that decisively, again, by decisively I mean a daily candle, both opening and closing, not just wicking below, but both opening and closing below the 21-day EMA, I think that's going to be a very good sign that we're coming lower if that does happen. We're not there yet, but again, that'll be a good sign that we're coming lower if that does happen. Coming out or zooming out on the weekly chart, I told you guys last time we spoke of this weekly chart, guys, that 20-day moving average, I have a bad habit of calling everything a day moving average, depending on whatever chart I'm looking at, the weekly, the 4-hour. Someone actually called me out on that on YouTube, and good for them, because they're exactly right. So this would be, I need to start correcting that. It's a terrible habit of mine. So looking at the Bollinger Bands here on the weekly chart, guys, this is the 20-period moving average, and this on the weekly, and we knew that was going to act as a rather strong resistance. We were hitting that last time we spoke, and it looks like right now it's just having a lot of time decisively breaking above that 20-period moving average on the weekly chart, guys. So we need to break above that, guys, and of course a decisive break above the 21-period EMA, the 21-period EMA, the yellow line there, guys, would be an extremely bullish sign. And we also can see on the weekly chart we've got the Bollinger Bands here starting to constrict, and as I told you guys last time, guys, the tighter they get, that does suggest, especially on a weekly chart, the larger the move is to come, guys. So we'll have to wait and see if this can continue to get squeezed tighter and tighter. If it does, we'll expect a much larger move in the next month or two. Zooming out on your weekly, again, your daily cure for FOMO. Here it is, guys. The trend is still bearish, even though we've had some bullish signs over the last month or two. The trend is still bearish. We are still operating within this bear flag on the weekly, guys. We are finding resistance exactly where we would expect it, at the top of that descending resistance line, got on that bear flag. And of course, I have marked out here that about 4,200 to 4,120, again, depending on the exchange you're looking at, that major resistance that price has to get above if the bulls have any shot of breaking out here. Now, it still can, even though we've had a little rejection today, even though we're pulling back a little bit today, guys. It's nothing significant yet, and we do have a lot of volume there, and that volume suggests that we do have a lot of pressure behind that, guys, so that could suggest a major break up or a major breakdown. But overall, this weekly chart does still suggest a breakdown. And someone asked me how I got a target of 3,000 to 2,500 off this bull flag. It's very simple, guys, almost too simple. You just come over here, you look at the gap on that wedge where it starts. You come over here and you apply that gap to wherever price might end up breaking out. Bottom of that zone here, guys, so we'd say it's somewhere around there-ish, and we can see that that's going to come down and should hit. And this is a very rough way of doing it, guys. This is just obviously just a guesstimate, but we can see the target of that bear flag would be somewhere between 3,000 and 2,500-ish, somewhere thereabouts, guys. So that's kind of how you get that. How you draw those targets. We have to remember that we are still looking at this major descending resistance line, guys. And again, it's no coincidence that it's fine that descending resistance line lines up perfectly with our our 4,200 to 4,120 resistance on price, as well as lining up with that resistance mark on that bearish pennant looking there, bearish pennant there. So a lot of resistance that we need to get through, guys. If we can break above that descending resistance line, guys, would be an extremely bullish sign. So how am I playing this? I never did enter my short up here, even though had it hit my target of 4,100 to 4,120, I would have. It didn't get there, so I didn't enter, guys. So I missed out on that little quick scalp off that short, but nonetheless, we did expect that break up. And if you were watching those longs versus shorts, you also expected this latest breakdown. You also expected some support there at that 3,900. We found that support as of now. I am not going to. I told you guys last time that I may pick up a small position at 3,900. I still may do that. I'm still weighing my options right now. I'm not really. I don't really have the confidence in the market to do that right now. I'm still playing more hands off. But if you wanted to pick up a quick skate, if we come back down and really test 3,900, and we may even wick through it between 3,900 and 3,850. Again, we're looking at Coinbase to end up to look for a quick scalp trade there, possibly targeting 3,950 to 4,000. Not a bad idea in my opinion. Just keep your stop losses tight. But right now I'm kind of hands off the market and waiting for some more indicators and waiting for the longs and the shorts chart as well as volume to kind of sort itself out. Once I see a trend, I'll enter at that point. But right now, guys, I'm kind of hands off. Not financial advice, just kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. If we break below, as I said, guys, below 3,900, I'm still going to be watching it. A break below 3,800, I think would be catastrophic. I think would be a drop down to 3,650, if not 3,500. And to the upside, guys, a break back up into that $4,000 zone, especially if we can take out this prior high right here at about $4,060 on Coinbase. If we can take out that high, that'd be a rather bullish sign, especially if we can take it out with short stacking and longs falling off. But if we break up here again with long stacking and shorts falling off, expect it to be very temporary and expect a very hard break back down. So kind of just want to give you an idea of things I'm watching and what to look for yourself so you can make your own good decisions. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Till next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working. Signing out.